We can attract anything we want. We must believe this and also understand that the universe is an infinite response, and that the one who provokes this response is the individual who perceives this universe. Nothing happens outside their perception. We are so distracted by the idea that we are part of a big, controllable machine. But as we awaken, we disconnect from this machine and start to create life according to our will. Blake said, "Man is all imagination, and God is man. God exists in man, and man in God." If you can imagine and be faithful to what you have imagined, then what you have imagined will become real. This is nothing new. It's been said for centuries in a book called the Bible. However, few know how to interpret it accurately and end up turning the Bible into something that imprisons rather than something that liberates. The Bible shows in detail how to turn something imagined into something real. I'll mention a few passages and show what the authors wanted us to understand. Therefore, Jehovah the Lord says, "Behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation, a tried stone, cornerstone, precious and of sure foundation. Whoever believes in it will not be hurried or afraid." Isaiah 28:16. In the book of Psalms, it is said that the stone the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. Psalms 118:22. In 1 Corinthians 3:12-13 we read, "If anyone lays on this foundation gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, or foliage, everyone will know who it was, for the light of day will reveal it. I say that this rock is your imagination, which in the Bible is called Jesus Christ, the God or the Lord. His imagination is the same divine imagination that creates, sustains, modifies, and even destroys part of all creation. This is the tested stone, with a stable and secure foundation. He who believes in it will never be in danger." If I can simply imagine, knowing that this creates my reality, then I will never be impatient or live a superficial life. When a person doesn't live in their imagination, they become impatient for the results they want, and end up resorting to violence to get what they want. When Jesus asked, "Who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter replied, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Then Jesus said, "Blessed are you, Simon, for this has not been revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church." Matthew 16:13-18. The churches say that this refers to a man called Peter, but it's not about an individual. All this happens in the mind of each one of us. Every day, when you imagine with faith and feeling, you imagine yourself in a certain way. That's Peter. If it were just one man, we wouldn't see the following verses, in which Jesus addresses the same Peter and says, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me, because you do not think about the things of God, but about the things of men." Peter receives a revelation. He realizes that the cornerstone is to imagine. He sees a friend who needs help and imagines the opposite. The friend is fine, with everything he needs, no worries. He doesn't suggest anything that the friend should do physically to improve his situation. He just imagines him in good condition. If the cornerstone is true, then there is only one, and he remains faithful to what he has assumed to be true. But it is said in the Bible that Peter, who had been praised, left his position of faith and became angry. Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Get behind me, Satan. You repeatedly resort to human law to force things your way. You take away all the pillars, and so everything is left unprotected. There is only one foundation in this world, Jesus Christ, or your human imagination. If you believe in what you imagine, you hold firm to the foundation." In Hebrew, stone means to make similar, to build, to create, to procreate. Here, stone in Zion means a place where there was nothing before. Man was like a desert until the stone rested on him, like his imagination. This is the only foundation stone, for there is no other foundation for the living God. Therefore, if I am a child of the living God, it is because there is only one living God, and I am Him. He who believes in me can fear nothing. Isaiah 28:16. This is the way of the Lord. I ask you to walk in it. Bring into your mind's eye only what you want to see in your world, be it your success in a business venture or the success of a friend. It can be anything, because on that foundation, you can lay gold or hay. You use hay to build when you talk badly about someone or a situation. What we expect for others happens, and then we say, I knew he would act like that. Of course, you knew. We were imagining on the only foundation there is, but we put hay, not gold, and the light of day has revealed that. We didn't realize that we were the builders of the work. One of the meanings of stone in Hebrew is to procreate. All the events of our lives are our children. We can all use this one foundation, imagination, to build or procreate the events of our lives. God is placing himself in all of us as a true cornerstone, a precious stone, and whoever believes in it will fear nothing. Don't become fearful thinking that there is another foundation. Don't be like Peter, who looked for another foundation and got angry with those who took Jesus to the cross. Jesus said, I came to go to the cross. When Peter reacts, he says, Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. If you think that we are part of a controllable machine, then you believe that things happen by accident. Let the wheel turn, because everyone must fulfill their journey until they awaken and perceive the universe as the infinite answer. People get lost in the world they create and forget that it is they themselves who give power to that world. Without them, this world wouldn't exist. For example, through the use of imagination, a person can attract money into their world. Then they forget that it was their mental activity that caused it, and they start to see the money as the cause of the power, when in fact the power was in what attracted the money, their imagination. When a person is awake, they no longer lose themselves, giving power to what they have created. That's why I say, there is only one rock, one foundation on which everything rests. If you remember someone who is ill and imagine the best for them, but then receive the news that they have taken a turn for the worse, don't give up hope. Remain faithful to the rock, the only one laid in Zion. What to do after imagining? A friend tells you about a problem. Then you imagine that the problem has been solved, and you do nothing more. You remain faithful to what you have imagined. The necessary conditions will arise automatically. We are all connected. The more we think for or against someone, the more we are connected to them. The universe is an infinite response. It gives back much more than you can imagine. As you measure, you will be measured. Luke 6:38. Being negative can be a very bad choice because the world gives back more than it takes in thoughts, words, and attitudes. I claim that the Bible is the biggest and best book of all, but there are scholars trying to find the remains of Peter or other characters. However, Peter is not a man. He is a state. States are permanent, but I'm not tied to any state. I am a living being who moves from one state to another. Sometimes I'm Peter, following my Christ. Sometimes I'm Noah, discredited by everyone. Peter confessed, You are the Christ. That is the rock on which everything rests. But when Peter turned away from this idea and reacted with fury, he was called Satan, the reactor. God is looking for the Christ, the imagination, through the foundation stone, and he rests in each one of us, even if unrecognized by the majority. I can talk about this in live talks, but if I said it on the radio, I'd be taken off the air. People don't want to believe that they are responsible for their lives from the moment they imagine, and no one can get rid of the results of what they imagine, because no one can put another foundation on top of the one that is already established. Jesus Christ, that is their imagination. Subscribe for more videos like this.